Ooh boy, they coming. The MCU is set to expand in a very big way in the next couple years as Phase 4 opens up above us and just pummels us with content. Seriously, that Investor Day presentation was nuts. We're going to be digging into the MCU announcements, but all of this isn't even touching the absolute motherlode that is the Star Wars announcement. If you're a hardcore nerd about either property, this must be absolute Christmas. Anywho, let's dig into what we should expect from Phase 4 of the MCU. First off, we now know that the character T'Challa is officially retired from the MCU, as a sign of respect for the late actor Chadwick Boseman. This of course begs the question, who's going to be the new Black Panther? After all, the film is still slated for July 8th, 2022, and while they could certainly rename it between now and then or even push it, come on, we're gonna get someone new in that catsuit. A lot of folks have suggested Shuri might take over, as she does in the comics, and that seems like the most likely scenario.
The Black Panther lives.
Either which way, expect some big changes and probably an exceptionally emotional opening scene during our next trip to Wakanda. In addition to the regular casts of our various franchises within the franchise returning, we're also getting quite a few old friends and foes in Phase 4. Tim Roth's Abomination is set to join Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner in the She-Hulk series on Disney+, marking the first appearance of Roth's character since 2008's much maligned, but in my opinion pretty sick, The Incredible Hulk. Meanwhile, over in Falcon and the Winter Soldier land, we're also getting the return of Baron Zemo, the baddie from Civil War, who, oddly enough, I consider the most underrated villain in the MCU. Is Feige stalking my Tumblr feed? The most recent returning cast news concerns Lady Sif, with Jamie Alexander returning to the role for the first time since Thor: The Dark World in the upcoming Thor: Love and Thunder. Oh, okay, technically she also showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but okay, put down the keyboard, okay? Put down the keyboard. We're also going to get an older Monica Rambeau in WandaVision. She last showed up as a child in Captain Marvel. Speaking of the upcoming Scarlet Witch and Vision TV series, the Mind Stone, while not a foe per se, was an integral part of Loki's formidable villainy in the Avengers. And that pesky rock shows back up in WandaVision. What kind of bonkers insanity that thing will have in store is a bit of a mystery. But if the previews for WandaVision are any indication, it's gonna get nuts. Anyway, we'll know soon enough. We're also getting the return of Mordo in Doctor Strange, although it's unclear how large a role he's going to wind up playing, and potentially the return of Black Widow in Loki if speculation on this shot is anything to go by. Now, we gotta talk about one of the biggest surprises from Disney's presentation, at least on the MCU side of things. The Fantastic Four, baby! While there are few details for this one, Marvel's first family are officially set to debut in the MCU, perhaps as part of a multiverse plot or to set the whole franchise in a new direction. Will they be from an alternate world? Will old actors be back, or will it be a totally new cast? I have no idea, but if we don't get a multiverse Human Torch, I'm gonna be pissed.
Now picture that, but everywhere.
Oh, also John Watts is set to direct. He also directed the first 3 MCU Spider-Man films, so look forward to what's bound to be a pretty good flick. Unless you hated Far From Home, in which case, I don't know, be grateful it's not Tim Story. Unless you like those movies. Look, taste is subjective. Man. I mentioned the multiverse, so we gotta bring up them sweet multiverse shenanigans we're bound to get up to in Phase 4. Just the casting announcements for Spider-Man 3 are enough to drive hardcore Marvel fanatics bonkers. As of this writing, it's looking like we're gonna get more of Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn and Thomas Hayden Church's Flint Marko. But by the time you watch this video, we'll be getting, I don't know, maybe Jesse Heyman? Of course, there's also the chance of a multiverse connection in WandaVision and some more specific tomfoolery in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, so expect a lot of multiverse-related twists and turns. We're also looking at a lot of new TV shows. Beyond the obvious, like 616, we're getting a whole bunch of new series over on Disney+, including What If, suggesting we'll be getting more MCU-adjacent content as well. For those who somehow missed it, What If will show us potential alternate realities, such as what if Agent Carter herself had been given the super soldier serum in Captain America. Expect a lot of other bonkers ruminations. We're also going to be seeing a lot of new villains, including Patrick Bateman himself, Christian Bale, as Gorr the God Butcher in Thor: Love and Thunder. For those unaware of the character, he's basically this alien dude who lost everything and then lost all belief in the gods until he found out that they were real flesh and blood beings. And ooh boy, he got butcherin'. The source of his power is the ever so metal, all black, the Necro Sword, which works kind of like the symbiote that formed Venom, mostly because it literally is the first symbiote. Fun fact, the symbiotes are an alien race called Clintar. So, maybe we'll get more Clintar action in the near future. Ooh, Venom in space! We're also looking at Jonathan Majors, star of HBO's Lovecraft Country, as Kang the Conqueror in the latest Ant-Man installment, and rumored to show up in Loki. Kang is a super old-school supervillain. He's a time-traveling baddie and possible descendant of Reed Richards from the 31st century. He doesn't actually have any powers per se, at least not in the comics, but he does have access to a ton of futuristic technology, which he uses to his advantage, and which could potentially have some serious side effects on the ongoing story of the MCU. With his ties to the Fantastic Four, maybe we'll even get our first hints at that film in Ant-Man. Flag Smasher, who you can learn more about in our video about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is set to show up in that show along with another returning villain, Batroc, played once again by Georges St. Pierre after showing up briefly in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Man, whole lot of boys in it for the long haul, huh? Meanwhile, we also have the Mandarin in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. For real this time. Technically, we've seen the effects of the Mandarin before in the Marvel one-shot All Hail the King, which in turn makes me wonder, are we potentially going to see the return of noted thespian Trevor Slattery? Or, what's left of him? There's also been rumors of Nightmare showing up as the villain in Doctor Strange, although no official news on that one just yet. Since we have Sam Raimi directing, it wouldn't be surprising to see a villain that's so, horrifying. Nightmare is basically a dream demon, and so he could show up in a similar capacity to Dormammu in the first Doctor Strange. Needless to say, you should also expect a lot more Marvel content in general. There are a ton of new streaming shows heading your way, not to mention plenty in the theaters, including Black Widow, which per Disney you should absolutely not expect to see available for streaming anytime soon. A lot of those shows, and a few of the movies for that matter, have started introducing us to a slew of new young heroes, making us think that maybe you should be expecting some hints at a future Young Avengers team-up project. The heroes currently slated to make their debuts include Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, and Kate Bishop taking the mantle of Hawkeye, while Scott Lang's daughter Cassie has already been introduced and recast with Katherine Newton in the upcoming Ant-Man sequel. Oh, and Florence Pugh is set to join the Hawkeye series, so who knows, maybe we'll get a new Black Widow to join up with the Young Avengers. With how much of the big screen MCU is integrating with the small screen, just about anything is possible. Either way, I think we can pretty reliably count on some sort of building blocks for the Young Avengers in Phase 4, even if we don't get the actual team-up until Phase 5. Not sure they'd really be Young Avengers at that point, but whatever. Movie magic, baby! Finally, and perhaps most importantly, expect a lot more diversity in the MCU going forward. It wasn't too long ago that the running joke was that all of our big heroes were white dudes, and now look at this slate, man. In addition to Black Widow, already directed by Kate Shortland, Nia DaCosta directing Captain Marvel 2, Carrie Scogland directing episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We've also, of course, got Jonathan Majors as Kang, Dominique Thorne essentially as Black Girl Iron Man, Chloe Zhao directing The Eternals, which in turn features Kumail Nanjiani's Abs as Kingo, Lauren Ridloff as Makari, Brian Tyree Henry as Phastos, Don Lee as Gilgamesh, and Salma Hayek as Ajak. Shang-Chi, of course, has a predominantly Asian cast, with stars like Michelle Yeoh, Awkwafina, and Tony Leung joining relative newcomer Simu Liu, who's playing the titular hero, and the first proper Asian lead in an MCU flick. Then there's half Japanese-American and Hawaiian-born Destin Daniel Cretton in the director's chair and Dave Callaham on script duties. It's pretty cool that Marvel has become such a juggernaut that they can afford to make a film centering on, if we're being honest, a hero most people haven't even heard of. Looks like that Guardians of the Galaxy gamble really changed the way of thinking over there. And we're reaping the rewards with cool, diverse properties that'll almost definitely make Shang-Chi a household name. I could probably go on and on, but the point is this. Marvel has really turned around and responded aggressively to previous accusations about their lack of diversity, so look forward to a wide swath of backgrounds in 2021 and beyond. Obviously, a more diverse MCU does not automatically equal quality, but considering the tight ship that Feige has run so far, with the vast majority of Marvel flicks being pretty darn great, I'm confident that we're being set up for a wild, epic Phase 4. So yeah, that's some craziness, right? Of course, there's going to be a ton of updates and changes as the years go by and Marvel presents twist after twist to its continuity. Oh snap, I didn't even mention that we've got basically zero news about Blade outside of a potential 2022 release. Where's that Blade news, Marvel? I want my Mahershala Ali vampire hunter and I want him now!